So I want to talk about this particular painting. It's called Solitude, and I want to talk about how it was made, what inspired me to make it, what I appreciate about it, and some close-ups of some elements in it that if you're buying online you may not notice unless you're up close and personal to it. So I'm going to try to show you those features so that you have a better idea of how interesting this painting is. First of all, the title, Solitude. I appreciate solitude, and I also appreciate hiking. I live in the Pacific Northwest near the Cascade Mountain Range, and so it's actually my view every day in my art room here, my studio. So mountains are always kind of a common theme in my work, lakes, trees, because that's what I'm surrounded by. So I also like to backpack when I can, and so camping has always been a fun experience for me and my husband, and so this kind of was a camping scene that I've been wanting to do. I've seen other people do works or paintings or photography that showcase a camping scene, and they always feel fun to me. I just like looking at them because I always wish I was there in that tent on the lake looking at the mountains. What I do for a lot of my paintings, I start with an acrylic pour section, and the reason I do that is because acrylic pour is unique in the way that it helps colors to meld together in a way that it's really hard to duplicate by hand. It's just a totally different look. And so I do some paintings where it's all acrylic pour, but majority of the direction I'm going to lately is to use that as a section or a couple sections in my painting and then overlay that with texture and oil paint. And so then I get kind of the best of both worlds, and I'll explain that later with this painting, why I did that. And so the first section I did was the sky. So if you look at the sky here, it's acrylic pour here, and when you close in on it, it's just really interesting because it kind of looks to me like almost like Northern Lights, the colors I used. There's some turquoise and green in here. There's also some like beigey colors, so it's like clouds at night. They're not white, they're kind of beigey color. So I used that, and then I wanted the moon to be kind of iridescent. So I applied an iridescent kind of pink medium to the top of the color I put on the moon. And so it's kind of a golden moon. It's kind of late summer, what I imagine this scene to be. And so when you pass by the painting, the moon kind of is iridescent, so it looks like it's reflecting light from the sun. And I think that's kind of cool. And also the mountains, they have lots of texture on the mountains, and so I did an acrylic medium on the mountains, and so you'll feel ridges. You'll see how when you have light from above in your home, it will make shadows on the painting, and those shadows will change as you walk by the painting or change your position looking at it. So there's a lot of visual interest when you have this painting. And also the lake itself is also another acrylic pour I did, and what was hard to do with acrylic pour is you have to, be okay with the results because it's kind of out of your control in some ways, and in other ways you have a little control if you apply with a dropper some paint in areas that you want to have specific colors to, because this lake is reflecting the sky, and the sky is very complicated because it's an acrylic pour, and so I needed to make some sort of reflection of that moon in the lake. And so you'll see a lot of I used the dropper and I poured some of the paint here, and then I can manipulate it and use a torch and make it look like waves and kind of frothy waves around here. So obviously there's a breeze going on in this camp scene, and then I can use oil paint and do little detail work to make the actual moon on the lake. So that was cool. That was the first time I tried that, doing a reflection with pour, and I think it worked pretty well considering. And then here's some islands here. It's hard to see on the video, but I'll try to have some pictures. You can see some some islands in the foreground here, and then also the trees themselves are very textured and they're very rough, and I do that by applying an acrylic medium to a metal mesh material. I overlay the mesh with that, and then I pull the mesh off, and what it leaves is a very unique texture, and it kind of feels like pine needles when you touch it. And so I did a lot of that. So they also, when the light shines from above, you have a lot of shadow underneath those on the foliage on the trees. This took a lot of time in the fact that I had lots of layers of texture. So you have to let them dry, and then you put another layer on, and it's not thick enough, so you had to do another layer. So by the time you get all the texture on and you're finally able to do detail work, you're super excited because this is what you've been waiting for. So the detail work is applying the colors to the textures, and I use oil because you have more forgiveness and time. You're not rushed, and I think it blends better. You get more depth with oils, and also true color. With acrylics, they dry darker, so that gets frustrating because when you have a specific color you want, you have to think it's going to do a shade or two darker. But with oils, they stay true to the color when they're dry. So you have more control that way, and I like that with the detail work. And so you have a tent here, and I put a shadowed individual, just one person, because he's finding solitude in the mountains. And so you'll see a male or a female, could be whatever you are, and you can see that they're alone in a tent, and there's a fire outside, and there's one little stump for him or her to sit on. And also down by the tent, when you are in person with the painting, you just see one set of hiking boots with little laces. And then there's also some more textured area over here. So all in all, the painting was a lot of fun to do because it's my favorite things all in one painting: camping, mountains, lake, solitude. And so it's a fairly large painting, as you can see. So it would be great above like your bed or your living room couch or a hallway, somewhere where you can really kind of step back. And you would need some light on it because it is a darker painting. Having some light, it will be reflected in the moon because of the iridescent paint applied. So it'll just make the whole painting pop if you have some task lighting on it. Warm light would be nice too. So I hope you like the painting Solitude. I certainly enjoyed it. Definitely something to see in person. I've had it at a gallery and people raved about it. They love the fact that it has so much detail and you really have to get up close and personal to it. So you can snag the original. That's the best way to see this, but also prints would capture it just as well. The pictures I've taken of it for prints turned out really well, and you still get a lot of depth in a print. So I hope you enjoy it.